Alright, so here we are in the bunk with the Adventures of Baron von Munchausen. One of my favorite movies. And I think I'll start off with a little song from Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke, yes. It goes like this. It goes, get yourself a sweet Madonna, dressed in rhinestones, set upon a pedestal, Babylonian shells. Going 90, I ain't scary, 'cause I got the Virgin Mary assuring me that I won't go to hell. Yes, Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman, one of the actors that I have a lot of admiration for. And he seemed pretty sincere in his sentiments of charity and goodwill and talent and skill and just kinds of role models we don't see that much these days. And I guess that leads me to this video about Melonie Mac. I would like to clean up my other videos, perhaps do a lot less cussing as in the other video. And I think it's generally a good thing to be repentant in this world for transgressions, if there were any, or trespasses. I also felt it was maybe a little more too emotionally charged. On the other hand, I still don't feel like investing too much creative energy into something, because there's a certain aspect to Melonie Mac's work. She certainly is a person who's dedicated about developing brand, and that brand is based more on personality and sex appeal than it is based in sort of content and actual sort of creation of productivity, creation of new materials. You're just kind of using the materials you walk around in. Your person is your material. And it's a very sort of crass marketing strategy that I feel is very troublesome in our culture today, in the American culture. I think it's really actually quite poisonous to it. And you'll hear, people like Jordan Peterson are talking about this in a lot of ways. It's ruining relationships, it's ruining value, it's ruining. And I was there when it all kind of came about. I remember in the '90s, you had people like P. Diddy and Paris Hilton. And they have no claim to fame. They have no talent. They have no skill. So they created this brand around their personalities and their. Well, maybe to be fair, maybe P. Diddy did have music, but it was sort of promoted through something was sort of promoted without regards to the quality of that music. Paris Hilton certainly was invested in just creating a brand and personality, and I feel it's poisonous. And so I feel as much as Melonie Mac uses the Bible to say, go after authorities or talk about speak truth to power kind of deal, well, then I'll speak truth to power, whatever power is instilled in Melonie Mac. But anyway, so I'm definitely going to go with that. And the other video, there's certain points in there that need reflecting. Perhaps not that she should perhaps reflect on herself as an influencer. It's pretty clear that she's out to seek higher value or create higher value for herself at the expense of those she considers lower value. And why she's doing that is I don't know. It's very crass, and it's very it's the antithesis of sort of Christian belief system in a lot of ways. You shouldn't be a Bible thumper. You shouldn't be weaponizing the Bible against others. You should actually be weaponizing the Bible against yourself. That's the point of the Bible. It's not to use as a weapon upon others. It's to use a weapon against yourself. Like when you aren't following God's word, not when others aren't following God's word. And this whole sort of wokeism that you see people sort of trying to be the righteous, they're trying to be righteous on this side, they're trying to be righteous on that side. turn to the left, turn to the right. You know, it's just a fashion, and it's also a poison. It's a poisonous in regards to this sort of influence culture. So anyway, Melonie Max. How did I know Melonie Mac? Well, here we are. Sean Sardo. September is his birthday. Sean Sardo left, China. I'm talking about myself in the third person. So I left China, and when I left China, I had to give up something that I sort of was hoping for. I had to give up some of my hopes, and I felt was a very sort of cynical end to what was, an upward trajectory for me. It was a very sort of selfish endeavor, perhaps, that I could tell had something a lot to do with me, in certain ways. It certainly affected me in a big way. I was, on an upward trajectory in China. I was doing 10 years of EFL work. I was on my way to becoming a director of studies at a public school in China. And I knew in the back of my head that would give me the opportunity to start a family, and at this age, I don't want to be, wasting time or energy anymore, I'm pretty involved in getting married at this point in my life. And certainly with that position, that status, and that security, I was going to become much more eligible. I did hope there was a woman in China, Li Xing. I've spoken about her in some of my other videos, Dollar Store Dynasty. I had a relationship with her, an intimate relationship with her, and I was kind of hoping to, I was hoping that, there would be an opportunity where we would meet again and perhaps sort of, engage that relationship, or at least, complete that relationship, bring it to its, I was hoping to see her again, and I was hoping things would work out, and I kept that in the back of my mind. And the more and more I sort of progressed in that upward trajectory, I knew more and more that possibility of running into her again was going to be increasing. So, I was hoping for that. And when COVID hit, it was like, no, you're not going to get to do any of that, And so I come back to the United States, and I'm like, well, then, there's really nothing here for me than just to kind of meet my end, And it's not like I'm not brave enough to do that. And if I do so, I'm not going to do it by compromising, the things that I stood for, the compromising. I'm not going to compromise, what I sort of had. I'm not going to compromise parts of myself for that. Then I go to my grave. It's your loss. It's just one less, So anyway, yeah, I was hoping for all that. So I'm back in America, and like two or 3 years, I was back for about 2 years by the time I met, and then Melonie Mac comes in my life, comes up on my recommendations in my scroll, and I'm like, wow, she looks just like Li Xing, like that hair, it's like her again, but she's American, and so maybe that's my compensation, right? You come back to, that's the people who feel bad about ruining my chances of happiness, or ruining my chance of having a family. They're very basic sort of human needs, or very sort of basic human relationships. Okay, you people ruined all that for that. Yay America, yay China, all that was ruined, and so maybe somebody's trying to make it up for me. All right, let me look at this person, she's certainly caught my attention. She's right there in front of you, like she's popped up, fell onto your lap, right? And so I start to engage her through YouTube comments, and then I move on to Twitter and Instagram gives me the opportunity to have direct messages, and so I kind of try and I try to make myself more familiar with her, basically, through those channels. And I feel like there's a response going on, sort of a little bit, sort of a hidden sort of response going on. Like, I'll talk about something in one of my comments, she maybe liked it, I'm sure she's laughing at it because I was cracking up writing it. And it kept me laughing all day. And I enjoyed writing it, and she liked it, and so I'm thinking, oh, we have a sense of, we have a similar sense of humor. This is kind of good vibe from it. I'm getting a good vibe. It seems like some of the things I'm saying, she's also bringing up in her videos. I'm like, there's generally a pretty good vibe about this. And then pops up that there's this debate con. All of a sudden, pops out of nowhere, and like this is an opportunity to meet her. It's like someone saying, hey, you want to go meet her? Here's your chance. All right, that's definitely, I want to meet her. Why wouldn't I? But around the same time, she blocks me on Instagram. She takes away my direct message away. So it's kind of like, well, what are you going to do now? Like, how are you going to react to that? Are you going to be all insulted and angry, and come out there and try, flip out and cause a scene? Or are you going to like try and like reestablish a direct means of communication? Or are you just going to not think anything of it? You're going to be indifferent about it. And I end up kind of doing the indifferent. And I don't think she appreciated that, Like, I didn't go out after there to get a photo with her. I didn't go out there to get her number. I just went out there to say hello and say, this is who I'm that guy who writes that stuff, that's me. Here I am. Here's what I look like in real life, because I know all the tricks. I know the high angles, and I know the diffused lighting, and I know all of that. I know the cosmetics. I know how you can make your look on screen. And when I get out and see somebody, very often there's a difference. So, knowing that, I was like, here's me and there's you. Great. So I drive out. So I decided to drive out to this debate con. I get my tickets, and it's a 15-hour drive, and I take the time off from work. I believed that, I thought, okay, I got Thursday off, I got Friday off, I got Saturday off, just come back Sunday. That's great. So Thursday, I'll just, relax and get ready, get my stuff together, take my time, put some clothes together, get everything, prepped to go out there, maybe look at the map and do all that Thursday. And then Friday, I'll set out really early in the morning. Get there at a reasonable hour. I'll get there early. Maybe Friday, I'll get there, or like I was going to leave like Thursday night really early, really late Thursday night or very early in Friday morning, so I can get there, comfortably in the afternoon of Friday, and then just kind of relax and take a look around town. And because I was thinking about asking her out to dinner. This was something I was thinking about doing, and so I get up on what I believed. What I believed was Thursday morning, and I'm going through the day. I'm just kind of chilling out. I'm taking it really slow. I'm like, I got all day just to kind of relax and work around the house. And then at some point, it struck me to look at the calendar, to take a closer look at the calendar, and that's when I realized it was actually Friday, and that I had long gone by my departure time, right? And that window, that comfortable window of being there in time had just disappeared. So I had to scramble and throw stuff into it. I didn't look at a map. I'm like, I'll just have to check it out on the road. I know, just take 10, and that take 10 west is going to get me to Texas, I jump in my car and I'm off, in like within 15 minutes, and this, because of when I left when I did, I know I'm going to get there pretty late on Friday night, but I'm going to make Saturday morning comfortable. I'll get there with like 4 or 5 hours, chance to sleep at the hotel. I'm like a wasted hotel day, but at least I'm there. And for a moment, I was like, forget it. It's too late. You can't go. Don't go. But then I was like, no, Sean, this is important to you. Like, you want, if that's your wife, if that's somebody who's going to be a very important part of your life, go out and meet her. If that's what you're thinking, then don't let that chance go by. Don't let that fly by. Well, I drove out there, and I feel a sense of anticipation about it. I don't know if she's been checking me at this point. I don't know. Maybe she's checked me out, you know, like I'm thinking in the back of my head. Maybe she's been looking at my videos. Maybe she's been doing a little investigation on her part. I don't know. It's just kind of strange. I get out there, I get to the debate, and I get the schedule, and I have like 3 panels to sit in on, and I got a lunch. I find out that Melonie's panel is late in the night, and I'm kind of like, ugh, you know. I'm kind of like, that means I gotta leave. I got a long drive at night, you know. But that's okay, you know. We do it for the right reasons. We make our sacrifices. And the other two debates are, you know, around lunchtime. So I sit through them, and I'm like, okay, you know, it's good to be here. You know, it's nice to have a time to just kind of hang out and do something different. And but you know, it was kind of like, I'm familiar with a lot of stuff they're talking about, and I don't feel like participating. You know, I feel like I'm just gonna read the room and, you know, save my participation for maybe another opportunity. But right now, this is just, I'm not really here to participate. I'm really here just to meet Melonie Mac and watch those. And then there's like a 2-hour gap after those 2 debates. There's like a 2-hour gap, and I figure, all right, it's time to go out and dinner. Melonie will be for the next panel, and maybe I'll get a chance to say hello there, introduce myself. Great. And I'm walking out, and as I'm walking out, though, I notice this blonde girl is kind of checking me out. And I'm like, why is this person kind of checking me out? That's kind of weird. And I don't really think anything of it, and I leave, and I'm walking out to the parking lot, which is across the way from the center. And as I'm walking to my car, into the entrance to this parking lot, this little yellow car comes flying in. And I'm like, who's this wacko? You know, like, I'm getting out of the way. Let me get out of the way of this wacko. They're going a little bit too fast. And, you know, I step over the side, and, you know, I'm like, I want to get a look at who this nut job is. Who's this crazy driver? And it's Melonie Mac. You know, and immediately I take a 90-degree, I do an about face, and I'm like, that's her. You know, that's the person I'm here to see. And so I'm pretty shocked at that. You know, like, it's kind of one of those weird introductions that you know, you might make more of than it really was, but you never know. I mean, it was something more to it. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know what really to do, how to react to it. I'm thinking, okay, here's your chance to meet her, but like, she just pulled in the parking lot. She's got stuff to do. You know, just go eat your dinner and, you know, catch up with her later at maybe a better time. At this point, I'm thinking, I'm just kind of here. I'm not going to be aggressive about anything. You know, she did block me on that Instagram. That's kind of like, because of that, you're going to have to like be really kind of just cordial. You know, you're just gonna have to be real cordial about this. You know, just say hello, and you know, you might want to try and invite her to dinner, but you don't really even know any place around here. You know, so I'm looking for a place to get dinner, and so I go back to my car, and she parks, and I'm just kind of looking on my phone, looking for a place to eat. I noticed, you know, after a while, I noticed she hasn't gotten out of her car, and I'm thinking, all right, then, like, why not go over there and talk to her now, then? Just introduce yourself. She seems to be not too busy, or she seems to be available to do so. Just go over and say hello, and say you're that guy who has been coming, you know. And maybe you can find a place to go to dinner. You know, maybe she knows of a place around here, and that'll give you an idea of maybe that'll give you an opportunity to ask her out to dinner. You know. So I go over. So I decide to get out of my car and go over and actually introduce myself. I go and talk to her, and I go over to the car, and she's not in it. And I'm like, what? Where'd she go? You know, and I'm like, all right, you know, but then I see her walking like from a completely different direction, walking from the opposite direction of the center, and I'm like, what? you know, like, why is she coming from there, you know? And she's far enough away that I can't just, I call her name out and she doesn't hear me. So I have to like, I'm like, oh man, I gotta shout her name now, you know, like that's weird. You know? Shout her name out, Melonie Mac. And she hears me and she walks towards me. And I just introduced myself and I asked her if she knew any good places to eat. And she said, I don't know, I'm not really from around here. I said, okay, well, I know you're kind of busy and you got to get back to that. I just thought, well, I'd say hello, you know, this is who I am. It's nice meeting you. And I'll get a chance to talk later. And the panel goes by and I know I got to get on the road and I just want to, you know, and so I'm not going to, maybe I was a little too indifferent about that, and I do apologize if that's what it came across as, that I was not interested enough or what. I just didn't want to be aggressive, especially not after being blocked on Instagram when I was trying to be personable with her there. So I just felt like I should just, you know, leave it up to her, you know, for the most part. I'm just gonna go say goodbye and say, you know, I enjoyed you did a good job and hope to see you again. And that's basically all I did say. I didn't ask for a photo or anything like that because it's one of those things that I don't think is really, I think it's a bit too fanatical. I don't want my picture taken anyway. Get my picture taken anyway. So, put the shade back. And that was it. And then I went to, oh no, yeah, that's what I had during the dinner break when I went to get dinner. There was a bookstore right next to the dinner, and I had the restaurant, and I had time on my hands, so I said, let me go take a walk in this bookstore. I walked in the bookstore, and immediately I thought, you know what, maybe I get a card or something for Melonie and put it on her car or something, you know, just to kind of, maybe that's how I'll get, you know, maybe that's how I can get her number, or that's how I can get, yeah, I mean, that's how I can get her number, or that's how I can get a direct line of communication with her going. So I start to look for a card, and then I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I'll get her a book, you know, and I'm thinking, remember I talked about Ireland, I would love to go to Ireland with Melonie Mac, you know, so let me get a book, travel guide. So I got her as travel guide on Ireland, because I remember I had made a comment about some of the places that I love in Ireland, and I felt like sharing that with her. And even if I didn't get to go, I was going to buy her this book with her. I said, let me, you know, I'll just earmark these towns that I found really particularly beautiful. And if she ever gets to Ireland, I can always say, check these places out, you know. I hope it's with me. You know, the whole idea of getting this book is for hopefully to make the opportunity. But even if it wasn't with me, I wanted her to share that with her, because she's Irish. You know, maybe she doesn't know that much about Ireland. I don't know. I love the country. Been there a couple of times. So I bought that book and some cards, and you know, I head back to my car and I started. You know, I earmarked all the places that I would hope I thought she might be interested in Ireland, and I started writing out the cards. Right, in the first couple of drafts, I wrote one draft to the card, like with all my contact information, and then I said that's too much. Ripped that up, threw it out. Wrote another one. No. Wrote another one. And the last one I wrote was, you know, just said, I hope to see you again, you know. And that's all I could feel. I felt like that was all I was really at liberty to ask for, you know. And like I said, you know, I went to the panel and I had a quick brief. She was talking to that, like when I left, at the end of that panel, I went up to talk to her. She was actually talking to that blonde girl that I had noticed watching me when I left the first time. So I was like, so there's a connection there somehow, you know. Did she, like, was there something, like some kind of connection there? So anyway, I leave and I put the card on her windshield, and that's how that went. But I went away feeling good overall. I didn't think that I had come off indifferent. I do apologize for that if that's how it was read. It certainly wasn't my intention. I didn't want to see desperate, you know, and I didn't want to see aggressive. I wasn't going to like say, let's go out to drinks with all your friends and hey, who's this and that, you know. I'm not going to be the life of the party. I'm not here to be that. I'm just kind of here to meet you, you know. And that's what I did. So anyway, and after that, it was like, you know, it became very apparent to me that I had compromised my ability to communicate with this person in a way that suited her brand, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. You know, like I knew I was not speaking to her in the correct, in an appropriate channel, you know. And I just kind of felt like I'm going to work with what I got, you know. And things went, you know, hit and miss. And but at the same time, I felt like it, you know, it was her brand, you know, and aspects of her brand were very sort of troublesome to me, you know. That I didn't. And one particular one is the way that she uses Christianity as her marketing, you know, as kind of a marketing tool, and also the way, like I said, she uses sex appeal. Well, she solicits the idea that she's looking for a husband. Okay, yeah, sure, but at the expense of what? You know, at the expense of all these suitors. You know, like how many suitors do you need before you decide to actually get a husband, you know? Because it seems like if you're praying to the Lord to provide you with someone, it seems the Lord is doing his part of the work, you know, and you're neglecting yours for perhaps, and she's spoken about this, like she has very specific criteria. And it's like, so what you're doing is you're kind of like trying to use all these low value male in your mind, these low value males to attain a higher value male. Well, what are all those low value, you know, they don't mean anything to you then, you know? I think that's crass. It's sinful, you know, to use people in such a manner. And it's problematic in terms of like these things that Jordan Peterson talks about, simps and all that. You know, it's really marginalizing men, young men, and it's one of those things I would say, like, get the hell away from my boys, you know, get the hell away from my boys. If you expect them to support for them all to sacrifice themselves just for so you can, you know, try and date Henry Cavill or something, you know. So you can create a value system around yourself that makes that you solely benefit from, and no one else does, you know. So yeah, I was very, very sort of frustrated and annoyed by that regards, and with the Christianity. You're not supposed to use Christianity. And I went on her Discord in the way that she does. I went on her Discord. That was a channel to speak with her. And I just kind of felt the people there were just there worshiping Melonie Mac. They weren't there for any sort of sincere belief in the Bible or to meditate on the Bible. It was there to speak to Melonie Mac. And even people like Spider Dan, the sort of the moderator, I guess, they were completely aware of that, and I felt they were uncomfortable with it too. You know, you're not supposed to use God's word for your personal glorification, and this was just people worshiping Melonie Mac, and I was like, this is simply not how you're supposed to. It's profane. It's using the Lord's name in vain. And I also, you know, found aspects to what she was saying as very hypocritical, you know, like when she was talking about, like, you know, she's like a special someone, and she's trying to make out this idea of being a husband is very important to her, yet she's been married, you know, and for some And the reason she would give that, like, why her first marriage didn't work out was because she felt she had to support her spouse, right? And I'm like, well, you take that vow. Like, don't you understand the vow that you've taken before God, before your husband, before the community? You are taking a vow that you that you're taking a vow with the belief of God's love is blessing, this union, right? And who are you to feel that you are so special that you can betray God's word or betray God's love in for such a matter as, like, where you've already made a commitment to say that that's not what this union is about. It's not about being, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer. You've taken that vow. It's right there, like. So who are you to think that God's gonna, like, Melonie Mac, I will make an exception. You can betray me, betray your love. I do not mind. For Melonie Mac, it's just not. It's not kosher. It's not Christian. It's sinful. That being said, I'm not about to burn anybody at the stake, but it's something to think about. Well, how if she felt that way, if she felt like the marriage was for her, like, what? First of all, like, what if the roles were switched and he was taking care of her? Like, should he have a problem with that? He probably wouldn't. So why is it a problem for her? It was a red flag. It was definitely a red flag. And the way she gets so defensive about, like, she doesn't like to self-reflect whatsoever because she knows it's not good for her brand, right? So for her to admit anything about herself that doesn't sort of align with what she's marketing herself as, it's not good for her brand. And she encourages, part of that marketing is, like, to encourage this symptom, like have all these simps just throwing money at her. And this is something like, I don't want to be in a strip club. I don't come here to watch a woman that I care about, quite possibly could love. I don't want to see her degraded, in such a way that there's men throwing money at her. Nah, that's not right. That ain't kosher. That ain't Christian. And but she cultivates it, and it's like, and all I can think is, like, she's got this whole, like, sort of staff, like she's got these guys like Litchfield and Watley, and they kind of fill these roles of promoters. They fill this role of reps. They fill, like, these very sort of sanctioned industry roles on creating brand and creating sort of a celebrity. And she has people who may actually be receiving some sort of compensation from Melonie Mac, some kind of kickback, I don't know, but they're definitely fulfilling a certain role that is like an established sort of marketing agency would normally sort of fulfill in the industry. I'm like, are they doing it for free or what's going on? Because the way they talk about her is in such a heightened sort of state of adoration or admiration that it only projects this idea that this is how important this person is. This is how everyone should be like this, like these people, or it kind of creates this idea she's some kind of saint or something, like, oh, look at her, like a lot of people would say these people are losers. A lot of people would sort of, but not Melonie Mac, she's cool with it because it's market, because it's all good marketing, It's good to have fanatical people about your product, Anyway, and once again, like, if she's using that to barter this idea that she's gonna, like, to get a high value male, like, that's garbage. You're just sacrificing people's good intentions for your own selfish wants. It's not good. And So that was something that was problematic to me, and the fact that she just doesn't want to self-reflect. The fact that she, you tell her, hey, and it very clearly says certain things in the Bible that you're not supposed to do. No, according to her, there's ways to interpret those scriptures in her favor, and so she tends to try and do so. And then she kind of calls up the mob, to like sort of cancel anybody who's out there saying like you're wrong, like you're wrong. And that's the great hypocrisy of what she's doing. She engages this idea of, cancel the cancel mob, they're bad, and they tried to cancel me, and I'm doing this heroic work, this righteous heroic work, and she's employing the same exact things that these people are doing that she says that are hurting her or hurting others. She's employing the same sort of tactics, to create a brand. It hurts to the people who aren't trying to hurt her. Like with me, I thought things were generally pretty good between us. We had I contributed some interesting ideas and some very creative sort of responses to her creative responses to her posts. And I felt good about those things, and it was kind of hard to have to go back and delete all those, It was really one of those things that it's hard because you're like, all that time, all that effort that I made, all that, that good intention and actually sort of, the thought that I put into a lot of that, just didn't mean anything to this person, I think that's very unfair, It was like I had a fiance when I was younger, in my 20s, and that was the hardest thing about it, was that like I'd spent 4 or 5 years sharing my friends, it was like 5 years, sharing my friends. It was like going on 6. It dragged on for a couple of years after. It just really fell apart. It fell apart. It went down. It went down slowly falling. The plane was crumbling out of the sky, falling apart. It was kind of. It was just tragic. So yeah, all that time you're sharing your family, your friends, your body, your time, your money, your effort, all of that, and you're creating this bond with somebody, a very intimate, a very sort of real bond with somebody, and then for them to say, well, I think my job is more important than you are, That's what it came down to with my ex-fiance. She felt her job was more important than I was. And she would tell me that at certain points in our relationship, and I just didn't know how to get out of it at those points, without really devastating myself, not being suicide, like without it being a suicide on my part. I was like, I can't get out of this at this point, but you're telling me that your job is your priority. I'm not, and I wanted to settle down, I wanted to start a family in my late 20s because I knew that stability was kind of important for success, like for my success, and I think for many men's success, is like you have that stable home that you can build on, And she just kind of pulled that rug out from under me when I went to college, because I went to college to create, a better opportunity for us both. And she just would insist that no, you're doing this to hurt me. You're doing this to. I'm like, we talked about this. Like your job is taking off. You're going up into the Fortune 500 companies, and I'm stuck in a rut here. And I have to keep up with you. And so I'm going to, go back to college and try. No, you're doing that for yourself, And I was like, why do you have a problem with that? Like that's wrong for you to have a problem with that. And And so things fell apart at that point, And it just, after that, it's like, well, what do I have now? I just gave all, like I just, all that stuff. What do I have? Nothing now, I don't know who, like, who do I look for now? I don't even know who to look for anymore, So it was like out in the wilderness. And you spend your time out in the wilderness. A voice in the wilderness. And what was I talking about now? That threw me. So yeah, like that. It's just the worst feeling that you're like, that was good stuff. That was good. That was good work I was doing. I was doing good work, and now I gotta start all over again. Well, anyway, I think this is maybe a little bit better, a little bit lighter content than the last piece. I'm not certain. Like I said, it's important to be repentant, and that goes for Melonie Mac also. Like, if you're going to post things about forgiving people, if you're going to post things about about being Christian and Christian ethics, then you have to look at yourself. That's what the Bible is there for. That's what God's word is all about. It's talking to you. It's not talking to your enemies. It's not talking to. It's saying, look inside yourself. All right, leave it at that.